Good morning, class. Today, my great friend and colleague Mark will be giving the presentation. Mark, whenever you're ready.
When you think about it, we are the ultimate survivors. But how in the world did we get here? Today, we're going to take a trip back in time, a 4 billion-year journey, to unpack the absolutely epic story of our species. It's a tale of near misses, planet-shattering disasters, and incredible luck that's literally written into our DNA. So, let me ask you something right off the bat. How would you survive the end of the world? I know, it sounds like something straight out of a movie, right? A totally made-up, impossible scenario. But what if I told you it wasn't? Because here's the crazy part. The answer is already inside you. Your direct ancestors, they survived the end of the world. And not just once, but over and over again. This isn't some dusty, ancient history lesson. This is your family story. All right, so our story begins in a world that was, well, surprisingly quiet. For the first 2 billion years, Earth was home to nothing more complex than simple bacteria. Life was there, sure, but it was kind of stuck in first gear. For things to really get interesting, something absolutely radical had to happen.
And this is the moment everything changed. It's an event called endosymbiosis. One simple cell basically swallowed another one. But instead of getting digested, they decided to team up. It was a revolutionary partnership. This new, merged cell became the first complex eukaryotic cell. Think of it as a tiny biological machine that suddenly had its own dedicated power plant humming away inside. That massive energy boost was the ticket to building bigger, more complex things. It was the blueprint for every single plant, animal, and human that has ever lived.
So, with this powerful new biological toolkit, life was finally ready to get big, get weird, and get moving. This next chapter in our story is all about an explosion of diversity in the oceans, and eventually, those first unbelievably brave steps onto dry land. And things started moving fast. I mean, incredibly fast. About 541 million years ago, the Cambrian explosion just filled the seas with all sorts of complex animals. And in that mix were our own super distant relatives, the first creatures with a primitive spinal cord. Fast forward to 375 million years ago, and you've got pioneers like this fish, Tiktaalik, literally using its fins to crawl onto the shore. From them came amphibians, then reptiles, and then the age of the dinosaurs began. Now, for the next 150 million years, our story takes a really sharp turn. See, our ancestors weren't the heroes of this world. They weren't the stars of the show. No, they were the ultimate underdogs, just trying to get by in a world ruled by giants.
You have to picture it. The world was basically split in two. On one side, you had the rulers, the dinosaurs. They were massive. They owned the daytime. And on the other side, you had the survivors, our ancestors, the very first mammals. They were tiny, warm-blooded, and lived their lives in the dark of night. Being small let them hide. Being nocturnal let them avoid the daytime titans. And their whole existence boiled down to one single simple strategy: don't get stepped on.
But that world of giants, it was about to come to a very sudden, very violent end. And for those little creatures hiding in the dark, the single worst day in the history of life on Earth was about to become the single greatest opportunity they would ever get. Just imagine the scene. 66 million years ago. A vibrant, thriving planet absolutely dominated by the most successful land animals of all time. And then, in a single, blinding flash, it was all gone. An asteroid the size of a mountain slammed into our planet, and the world was changed forever. That asteroid basically hit the reset button on the entire planet. The impact, the fallout, it wiped out the dinosaurs. But for those small, furry, burrowing mammals that managed to survive the apocalypse, this wasn't an ending. No, it was the beginning of everything. The death of the giants created this enormous power vacuum, and our ancestors were finally ready to step out of the shadows. So, the dinosaurs are gone. The world is wide open, and our ancestors began a whole new evolutionary journey. Only this time, the focus wasn't just on getting bigger or stronger. It was on developing the most powerful tool the planet had ever seen: the mind. And the progression from there was so logical. It happened in these incredible steps. First, you get Australopithecus. They come down from the trees and start walking upright. Now, why is that a big deal? Because it frees up the hands. So next, you have Homo habilis, who uses those free hands to make the first stone tools, unlocking all kinds of new food. And then Homo erectus tames fire. Cooking food means more energy, which fuels a bigger, more powerful brain. Each step was a game changer, building on the last, leading right to us. This incredible path of innovation leads us to the final character in our epic story, a species that would completely flip the script, one that wouldn't just adapt to the world but would start adapting the world to itself.
And get this, in the grand scheme of 4 billion years, this all happened basically yesterday. It was only about 300,000 years ago, in Africa, that our own species, Homo sapiens, finally showed up.
So what was our secret weapon? What was our superpower? We weren't the strongest, not by a long shot. We weren't the fastest. Our secret weapon was this, our brain. A souped-up prefrontal cortex gave us imagination, the ability to plan for the future. Complex language let us share crucial information, cooperate, and pass knowledge down through generations. And all that together allowed us to collaborate in huge groups and, eventually, to reshape the entire planet to meet our needs.
And that, unbelievably, brings us right here to today. Billions of years of survival, of dodging extinction, of cosmic luck, all of it led to this moment. We are the descendants of that first cellular partnership, the survivors of the great asteroid, the inheritors of the Earth. We were handed a planet cleared by an apocalypse. So the real question, the only question that matters now is, what story are we going to write with it?
And that's all for today's lesson. For the next week, please write an essay about why you should subscribe to TED Teach channel. Or you can do it now. Thanks for watching.